Many people believe that Dronacharya simply loved Arjun more than his other students. But the Mahabharata tells a very different story. It was not his blind favoritism that made Arjun the greatest disciple. It was his relentless dedication, unwavering focus, and his refusal to let even the smallest opportunity for learning slip away. Let us see how this remarkable relationship between Guru and disciple was built. After Dronacharya arrived in Hastinapura, Bhishma welcomed him with the highest honor. He gave him a beautiful residence filled with wealth and every comfort. Then Bhishma entrusted all the Kuru princes to him as students. The sons of Dhritarashtra and the 5 Pandavas all became disciples of the great master. Dronacharya accepted them with joy. One day, after all the students had settled into their training, Dronacharya gathered them in private. There was something important in his heart. He told them that after completing their education, they would one day have to fulfill a wish that he carried within himself. The Mahabharata does not describe the other princes responding. They remained silent. Only Arjun immediately stepped forward and promised that whatever his guru desired, he would certainly accomplish. That single promise deeply moved Dronacharya. Unable to hide his emotions, he embraced Arjun, repeatedly touched his head as a gesture of great affection, and tears of joy filled his eyes. From that moment onward, the bond between Guru and disciple became extraordinary. Dronacharya then began the rigorous training of the princes. Dronacharya taught every student the use of divine weapons, ordinary weapons, warfare on foot, horseback, elephants, and chariots. Princes from many kingdoms also came to learn under him. Even Karna, the son of Radha, joined the Gurukul and constantly tried to compete with Arjun. From the beginning, he viewed Arjun as his greatest rival. Driven by this rivalry, he often sided with Duryodhana and joined him in mocking and insulting the Pandavas. Arjun, however, paid little attention to such hostility. Rather than getting drawn into these rivalries, he remained focused on his training, dedicating himself wholeheartedly to learning and constant practice. But as time passed, one difference became increasingly visible. The Mahabharata tells us that Arjun gradually surpassed all the other students through his eagerness to learn, his training, his growing skill and strength, and above all, his relentless effort. He developed unmatched speed, precision, and mastery in handling weapons. Dronacharya recognized that among all his students, Arjun possessed an exceptional ability to absorb instruction. Yet this did not mean Dronacharya stopped testing him. In fact, another incident revealed just how determined Arjun truly was. Every day, the students were sent to fetch water. Dronacharya gave ordinary water pots to all the princes, but he gave his own son Ashwatthama a large mount vessel that filled much faster. Because Ashwatthama always returned first, Dronacharya used that extra time to teach him advanced techniques of weaponry before the other students came back. Arjun quietly observed this. Instead of complaining, becoming jealous, or questioning his teacher, he searched for a solution. Using the Varunastra, he instantly filled his own water pot and returned alongside Ashwatthama. Now he never missed those valuable lessons. The Mahabharata presents this as an example of Arjun's alertness. Whenever he noticed an opportunity to learn, he found a righteous way to reach it through his own effort. Gradually, he matched Ashwatthama in every aspect of training. At the same time, Arjun served his guru with sincere devotion. He was eager in practice, respectful in conduct, and completely absorbed in learning. These qualities made him increasingly dear to Dronacharya. Then another incident transformed Arjun's ability even further. Seeing Arjun constantly practicing archery, Dronacharya secretly instructed the royal cook never to serve Arjun food in darkness. He strictly forbade him from revealing this instruction to the prince. One evening, while Arjun was eating, a powerful gust of wind suddenly extinguished the lamp. Although the room had become completely dark, Arjun's hand continued to move effortlessly from the plate to his mouth without error. At that moment, Arjun understood the power of repeated practice. If habit could guide his hand in darkness while eating, then constant practice could surely sharpen his skills in archery as well, making it no longer dependent upon sight. If constant practice could make eating possible in darkness, then perhaps the same principle could apply to archery. That very night, Arjun began practicing with his bow in complete darkness while others rested. When Dronacharya heard the sound of the bowstring during the night, he came outside to investigate. There, he found Arjun practicing alone. He embraced him with great affection and declared that he would train Arjun in such a way that no archer in the world would ever equal him. From then onwards, Dronacharya devoted himself to refining every aspect of Arjun's skill. He taught him warfare from chariots, horses, elephants, and on foot. Every lesson was practiced repeatedly until perfection became natural. Meanwhile, another remarkable story was unfolding in the forests. Ekalavya, the son of the Nishat king Hiranyadhanu, came to learn archery from Dronacharya. But he was not accepted as a disciple. The Mahabharata states that Dronacharya refused him while keeping his obligations toward the Kuru princess in mind. Ekalavya returned to the forest. There, he created a clay image of Dronacharya, worshipped it as his guru, and practiced with extraordinary discipline. His dedication became so great that one day, when a barking dog disturbed him, he filled its mouth with 7 arrows so skillfully that the dog was silenced without being killed. When the Pandavas witnessed this astonishing feat, they searched for the archer and discovered Ekalavya. He introduced himself as Dronacharya's disciple. When the Pandavas later told Dronacharya about the extraordinary archer they had discovered in the forest, Arjun could not stop thinking about him. Eventually, he approached his guru and reminded him of the promise he had once made. Arjun respectfully asked how the Nishat prince, who called himself Dronacharya's disciple, appeared to possess even greater skill. The question gave Dronacharya pause. The Mahabharata says, he remained deep in thought for some time. Then, having reached a decision, he took Arjun with him and went to meet Ekalavya. He found Ekalavya in the forest, bow in hand and constantly practicing. His body was covered with dust and his hair was tied in matted locks. The moment he saw Dronacharya, he welcomed him with deep reverence and honored him as his guru. With folded hands, he stood before the teacher who he had worshipped in his heart for years. When Dronacharya asked for Guru Dakshina, Ekalavya was overjoyed. He told the master that nothing in his possession was too precious to be offered to his guru and requested him to name whatever he desired. Then Dronacharya asked for his right thumb. The request was so severe, yet the Mahabharata emphasizes Ekalavya's extraordinary steadfastness. Remaining as cheerful and respectful as before, without hesitation and without complaint, he cut off his right thumb and placed it before his guru, thereby keeping his word. Seeing such unwavering truthfulness and devotion, Dronacharya was pleased. He then showed Ekalavya another method of drawing the bowstring using different fingers. Although Ekalavya continued practicing, he could no longer shoot arrows as swiftly as before. With this, Dronacharya's assurance that no one would surpass Arjun remained unchanged. The Mahabharata presents this as the fulfillment of Dronacharya's promise to his disciple, a decision that teacher himself chose to make. Time passed. The princes became masters in their respective skills. Bhim and Duryodhana excelled in mace fighting. Ashwatthama became deeply knowledgeable in the secrets of archery. Nakul and Sahadev became unmatched swordsmen. Yudhishthir mastered fighting from the chariot. But Arjun surpassed everyone in every branch of warfare. The Mahabharata attributes this not merely to talent but to his intelligence, concentration, physical strength, enthusiasm, constant practice, and deep affection for his guru. Although every student received instruction, Arjun alone rose above them because of his extraordinary effort. Then came the famous examination. Dronacharya decided to test their mastery. He had craftsmen prepare an artificial bird and place it upon the top of a tree. None of the students knew beforehand what the examination would be. Gathering them together, he instructed each prince to stand ready with a drawn bow and await his command. Only when ordered would they be permitted to release their arrow and strike the bird's head. Dronacharya first called Yudhishthir. After the prince had taken aim, the teacher asked him what he could see. Yudhishthir replied that he could see the bird. Dronacharya then asked whether he could also see the tree, his teacher, and his brothers. Yudhishthir answered truthfully that he could see them all. Hearing this, Dronacharya dismissed him, declaring that he would not be able to strike the target. One after another, Duryodhana, Bhim, the other princes, and even the royal students from distant kingdoms were questioned in the same manner. Every one of them answered that they could see everything before them. Dronacharya sent them all back. Finally, Dronacharya called Arjun forward. When asked the same question, he replied that he saw only the bird. Dronacharya questioned him again. What part of the bird do you see? Arjun answered that he saw only its head. Nothing else existed in his attention. Upon hearing those words, Dronacharya was overwhelmed with joy. The Mahabharata says that Dronacharya's body thrilled with delight and he commanded Arjun to shoot the arrow. Arjun released the arrow instantly. It flew straight to the target and severed the bird's head in a single shot. Dronacharya embraced him and became convinced that the disciple upon whom he had placed his hopes would one day accomplish the task for which he had been preparing him. He now knew with complete certainty that this disciple possessed not only exceptional skill, but also complete mastery over his own mind. Soon afterward, another test took place. While bathing in the river Ganga, Dronacharya was seized by a crocodile. Although the Mahabharata states that he was capable of freeing himself, he deliberately called out to test his disciples. The other princes stood stunned for a moment, unsure of what to do. Arjun acted immediately. Without delay, he released 5 unfailing arrows into the water, killed the crocodile, and rescued his guru. Deeply pleased by Arjun's presence of mind and swift action, Dronacharya bestowed upon him the mighty Brahmashira weapon, teaching him both its invocation and its withdrawal. But along with this gift came a grave warning. Dronacharya explained that this celestial weapon was regarded as extraordinary in all the 3 worlds and could be possessed only by one who had complete control over his mind and senses. He strictly forbade Arjun from ever using it against ordinary human beings, for its power was so immense that it could bring devastation far beyond its intended target. Only against extraordinary non-human enemies and only under the gravest circumstances could such a weapon ever be used. Arjun accepted this responsibility with humility and vowed to honor his teacher's command. Once again, Dronacharya declared that no archer in the world would equal him. This is how the Mahabharata explains why Arjun became Dronacharya's most beloved disciple. It was not because he was chosen before he proved himself. He became the favorite because every promise he made, every lesson he received, Every obstacle he encountered and every opportunity he discovered was answered with greater dedication than anyone else. His greatness was built one disciplined choice at a time. And that is why, in the pages of Mahabharata, Arjun stands not merely as a gifted warrior but as the ideal disciple. His journey reminds us that greatness is not reserved for those who are born with extraordinary talent. It is built through the choices we make every single day. It belongs to those who are willing to learn with humility, practice with consistency, and remain dedicated even when no one is watching. When Arjun saw someone else receiving an advantage, he did not waste time complaining. He looked for a way to improve himself. Instead of comparing his journey with others, he focused on becoming better than he was yesterday. While others rested, Arjun continued practicing. Throughout his training, Arjun never allowed comparison, comfort, or distractions to take control of his mind. Whenever he found an opportunity to improve, he embraced it. Whenever he faced a challenge, he answered it with greater effort rather than complaint. That is the mindset that truly set him apart. His success came not because he could see more than everyone else, but because he refused to let anything else distract him. The Mahabharata also shows us that knowledge becomes meaningful only when it is put into action. His years of practice had prepared him to remain calm when the moment truly mattered. This episode also gives us a beautiful understanding of the role of a teacher. A true teacher can open the doors of knowledge, guide the student, test their abilities, and help them discover their potential. But no teacher can practice, focus, or persevere on behalf of the student. That responsibility always belongs to the disciple. The student must walk that path through dedication and hard work. Dronacharya taught many princes under the same roof, yet each one reached a different height. He constantly observed them, tested them, and looked beyond their natural ability. He recognized sincerity, discipline, concentration, and the willingness to learn. The Mahabharata repeatedly points us toward the reason. The difference did not lie only in the teacher, it also lay in the attitude of the student. Arjun became Dronacharya's favorite not because he was simply gifted, but because every lesson he received was matched by sincere effort, every challenge was answered with determination, and every opportunity to learn became another step toward excellence. His greatness was not created in a single day. It was built through countless moments of discipline, focus, humility, and unwavering dedication. That is why even today, Arjun is remembered not only as one of the greatest warriors in history, but also as the timeless example of what an ideal student should strive to become. Perhaps that is the timeless message of this story. A great teacher can show the path, but it is the student's discipline, humility, and perseverance that determine how far that path will lead.